Chapter 1. It was a dark and stormy night. The noises outside my chamber had awakened me from a fitful sleep and reminded me of a secret so shocking that I must not reveal it to you. No, gentle reader, not yet. For in the telling of my story, you will learn the most exciting things. Yeah, this is not strong. If only there was some way I could know. The first line of any story feels like it has so much writing on it. I know it's not true, but I always get the sense when I'm writing something that if I could just crack that first line, everything else is going to fall into place. The chapters will write themselves and character arcs will appear fully formed. Now, the logical part of my brain tells me this isn't true. It's not like my favorite authors chain themselves to their typewriters and refuse to move on to chapter 2 until they've really cracked that opening. But there is something magical about writing that perfect first line. That way that it can transport readers to a new world and get them invested in a character, or make them think, oh, just wait, my uncle would love this book. Maybe I should add it to my Christmas list. Later in this video, I'll share with you my favorite opening from a book. But before we get there, I thought we'd turn to an expert and find out exactly what goes into writing a great opening line. Okay, as you can tell, I don't have an expert here, so I'm gonna fire up the Reedsy phone and, Reedsy phone, call Rebecca Heyman. Hey Becca, have I caught you at a good time?
No, this is a great time. What's going on?
We were just talking about opening lines. Now, you're the creator of First Line Frenzy, an online event where you invite people to send in the opening lines of their books and then you critique them and give them advice for how to improve. So in that sense, you're sort of our in-house first line expert. I was wondering, what sort of advice would you give to writers looking to write a great opening line?
It's a big question, but I hope I can help. There are three really important components to an effective first line. The first one is establishing your main character as quickly as possible. Readers want to connect to a character who ideally they can cheer for. So the faster you can put us in front of a real person instead of just an idea or a setting, the better off your first line will be. The second tip I have for you is to activate a sense of immediacy or a ticking clock as soon as humanly possible. That means I prefer to see a first line that starts in the present as opposed to a first line that tosses us into the past. A line that starts 10 years ago is less effective than a line that starts 10 years ago today to bring us right into the present moment with a sense of immediacy. And of course, the third and maybe most important aspect of a first line is its ability to activate your central conflict. Now, authors definitely have time to develop conflict over the course of the rising action of their novels, but it's really effective if you can hint at that conflict in line one as soon as possible.
Amazing. Just one more question. Never mind. So, we're talking about three things. We're talking about character, immediacy, and a sense of conflict. I don't know about you, but I'm keen to see how this advice stacks up in real life. So for that, I'm going to turn to my favorite book opening of all time. It was a bright, cold day in April, and the clocks were striking 13. Winston Smith, his chin nuzzled into his breast in an effort to escape the vile wind, slipped through the glass doors of Victory Mansions, though not quickly enough to prevent a swirl of gritty dust from entering along with him. Okay, so in those two sentences, Orwell does pretty much everything that Becca mentioned in her tips. First, he established character. His name, Winston Smith. We see him first reacting to the cold weather, sort of keeping himself away and protected from it, but more interesting is the word choice. He describes him nuzzling his chin into his breast, which isn't exactly language you normally use to describe humans, but in fact it perhaps conjures this image of a bird. Immediately off the back, we have this picture of Winston as this bird-like man, but what does that mean? Is he timid? Is he small and delicate? Does he long for freedom? Is he a caged bird? Later on in the story, birds do turn up at a few key moments symbolizing freedom. Whenever we see the birds, we will associate those birds with Winston. Next, immediacy. Now the book starts with the chiming of a clock, so you don't get any more immediate than that. But the interesting thing to note is that in this world, the clocks chime to 13, so immediately we know something's a bit off, something's wrong. Orwell also activates the senses, talking about a bright, cold April day. Now, it's not exactly like these things are impossible, but it is somewhat of a paradox, and in that way, it is subtly unsettling. Now, conflict. As you may have spotted, within those two sentences, Winston isn't involved in any foot chases or gunfights, but that doesn't mean there isn't any conflict taking place. It's just there in the symbolism. Whenever you hear descriptions of wind in a story, especially near the beginning, there's only one thing that can mean: a change is coming. Those are the winds of change. The fact that Winston is protecting himself against the winds tells us that he is someone who is resistant to the call to adventure. But just as the wind follows him into the building, we know that he is not going to be able to stay the same way he is forever. Changes are coming, and there's no way he's going to stop it. Then there's also that extra little detail, those little specifics that add to the world building. He names the building Victory Mansions, which might not mean much to us modern readers, but to Orwell's contemporaries, that name, Victory Mansions, will have something of a wartime propaganda ring to it. So that is one of my favourite openings to a book. Let us know what yours are in the comments below and tell us what makes them so powerful and effective. I want to thank Rebecca Heyman for sharing her top tips with us. Rebecca is just one of thousands of editors available at Reedsy. If you need help editing or developing your manuscript, head over to reedsy.com and you can start reaching out to your perfect editors today. Until then, I'm going to give this first chapter another bash. I'll see you next week.